Hello and welcome to my chemical-free product workshop. Today's topic is how to make your own toothpaste. I appreciate your attending. My name is Andrea and I'll be guiding you through today's class. Our goal today is to make our own non-toxic toothpaste. While we're together today, we'll learn about the toxins in the average toothpaste brands. We'll discover the health and beauty benefits of natural ingredients for oral care. We'll mix our own toothpaste using suggested proportions. And of course, we'll grow in empowerment, knowing that we have greater control over our toothpaste options. So the ingredients you'll want to have is some coconut oil. It's important to do coconut oil because it's something that gets harder when it's cool and at room temperature. And you'll need that to make sure it's not drippy. Then you'll also want to make sure that you have baking soda. So these are the two main ingredients, is the coconut oil and the baking soda. So this one, you'll also want to make sure that you have, if you'd like to experiment, these are activated charcoal, and they can basically help to get rid of stains, but I'll talk more about that in a little while. And then you also have like some way to get the toothpaste out of there. You can use your finger if you'd like. I wouldn't suggest just sticking your toothbrush in it because we want to make sure we can keep it clean. So these are just basically like wooden sticks. You can just use popsicle sticks, whatever you'd like to be able to get it out. It can be a spoon, but yeah, something to get it out of the container each day. And then this I really like is peppermint flavor. This is basically like a food flavoring, peppermint flavor. I have used essential oil in the past, the peppermint essential oil, but I feel like this is more of like a food grade thing, so I stick with this these days. And you'll also want to have some type of measuring cup. If you're going to make a huge batch, so you have a really big family, or if you want to share some with family members, then you'll want to use a larger spoon. It's just going to be based off of Scoop, the recipe. But if you're just going to try to experiment right now to see what it tastes like, see if you like it, then just use a small little teeny spoon and you can just do little scoops. And then you'll need a mixing spoon. In some place that you want to keep it, I actually usually just mix it in the container. If you want to mix it someplace else, then transfer it, that's up to you. But I tend to just mix it right in there. It's just easier and one less step. So if you're not really into peppermint, you can use some cinnamon essential oil too. That would work just fine if you want that cinnamony taste to your toothpaste. So as far as activated charcoal and the coconut oil, these are things that are considered to be tree nuts. So obviously coconut oil comes from a tree nut, but activated charcoal is often made from the shells, from the charred shells of coconuts. So if you have any type of tree nut allergy, I'm real serious, make sure that you consider or maybe do like an allergy test or something before you try to use these, because I want to make sure everybody's completely safe. If for some reason you're not going to try the coconut oil because you do have a concern, there are other oils that harden at room temperature. I think palm oil is one of them. I haven't tried it myself, but maybe I'll give that a try just so I can see if I can recommend it. But I know palm oil actually also hardens at room temperature as well. So let's start by talking about some of the functionalities of these natural toothpaste ingredients, as well as sharing some of the dangers of many of the store-bought toothpastes. Then after that, I'll share some of the proportions that you'll need to mix, and then we can go ahead and start giving some of these recipes a try. Keep in mind, it does not have to be perfect. When mixing natural ingredients, you can eyeball it, that's just fine. And experimenting is one of the funnest ways to create your own natural products. So just have fun with it. So as far as these toxins, things like fluoride, which is often found in toothpaste, is a neurological toxin, and it's also an endocrine disruptor. So we want to avoid fluoride. There's also carcinogens, which are things that are known to cause cancer, and things like aspartame and carinogen, which are often found in toothpaste, can be carcinogens. So we want to make sure we stay away from those as well. All right, so let's talk about the good stuff. Let's talk about these healthy ingredients. So our skin is very absorbent, and it only takes 26 seconds to absorb things on our skin. We can also imagine just about how much our mouth is going to be taking in, since it's part of our digestive system. So these are the types of ingredients we want to use, and here are some ideas on how you might want to use them and what you might want to use in more abundance based off of what they can do for you. So baking soda. Baking soda is the deodorizer. This is what's going to keep you fresh. It's very powerful, and it is very effective. You do want to make sure you don't add too much baking soda because it is powerful and it can be basic, so it can be corrosive. So you have to not add too much of this because we want to make sure that we're not, irritating any skin around the mouth. So as far as the olive oil is great because it's often used in something called oil pulling. So you can use the olive oil as a mouthwash if you'd like to, with a little bit of water in your mouth and just swish. It helps to clean out the mouth. It's actually a good antibacterial. So coconut oil, yes, who knew? Good antibacterial. So that can be used as a mouthwash. And then it also just helps to hold the whole toothpaste together, really. The activated charcoal, as I mentioned before, so these little capsules are going to be able to help to remove stains from your teeth. So if you want to remove any staining, this is really helpful. It's a little bit, like a very fine, rough texture. You're not going to feel it with your fingertips, but it's something that does help scrub. So since it is very effective, you don't want to use this every day. This is something you want to use once a week, maybe twice a month or something like that. Just have a little small portion of this someplace, and don't use this too much because otherwise it could start, rubbing away at the enamel. We don't want that. So just once or twice a month, once a week or something like that, and you should be good. And again, keep in mind, made of coconut shells. So be careful with that one if you have any tree nut allergies. The peppermint essential oil or the cinnamon essential oil, these are really just for flavor. Not necessary, but helpful, and it makes it kind of like a nice experience to brush. So you want to make sure that you have good proportions. So I suggest half and half. This is what I usually do. Half of the coconut oil and half of the baking soda. Again, if you feel like you have very sensitive skin, you can do less on the baking soda. So basically 1 scoop of the coconut oil and 1 scoop of the baking soda, whichever utensil you're using. If you're going to use a little teeny one, same thing. 1 scoop coconut oil, 1 scoop of the baking soda, and just mix it together half and half. If you think that you might have sensitive skin and you want to be careful, if you start to notice that it is irritating, then you want to do 2 scoops of the coconut oil and then just 1 scoop of the baking soda. So it would be twice as much of the coconut oil than the baking soda. So if you do decide that you want to use the charcoal, you can just add 1 capsule to about a half cup of product. So basically, if you have a 1/4 cup measure, you would do 1/4 cup of the oil and 1/4 cup of the baking soda, and then just use 1 of these. Just 1 little capsule and mix that in. All right, so I usually do myself a favor and I pour in the baking soda first, and this one has like little lines on it, so that makes it easier. Just pour in the baking soda, and then I pour in the coconut oil. And again, you seem eyeballing it, don't feel bad. You don't have to always messy up all your dishes. That's about the same, I think. So just place that in there. It was so messy. So you're gonna wanna have like a napkin or something to try to clean a little bit. But yeah, and then you just mix it together. So you notice how the coconut milk oil is very thick. That's at room temperature, that's what you want. You don't wanna preheat this, it's not necessary or helpful for this recipe. So just stir that up, and I'll say flavor to taste. Let's just say flavor to taste, not too much. Start off small, just a few drops at a time. And just stir that up. I try not to fill it more than halfway full because it just makes it easier. Again, this can get a little bit messy. It's all right if it does. Just simply, so you want it to be nice, just simply wipe around the edge with some type of cloth before you put it in the fridge to get hard. And you want to put it in the fridge to get hard because that helps it to all come together in case it's a little bit warm in your house. And once it gets hard, it usually stays that way for quite some time. You don't want it to get too hard. I would suggest just leave it in the fridge for maybe like a few minutes, maybe like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and that should be enough. I already actually have one in there for you. I'm like the ladies who would have the food in the oven in those cooking shows. I always enjoyed those as a child. So, all right, then this one I filled very high because I knew we were going to be using this straight away. And you can just put your little stick in there. If you put it in the fridge for too long, you can't put the stick in right away, but that's okay. It'll get back to room temperature, and then you can stick it in there. If it's too hard, don't worry. It'll come back to room temperature and be soft again. All right, so you're gonna stick that in there, and ta-da! Now you have your toothpaste. Dun, dun, dun. And don't worry, I know mine's little, but I didn't want to use too many ingredients since we already have one. I don't want to waste, but I wanted to give you an idea of how it comes together and see what the textures look like. All right, so you may have noticed that I said earlier that my family and I, we live with 12 healthy habits in order to enjoy a better quality of life. So then chemical-free living is just one of the 12. So we basically embrace all of these healthy habits so that we can have less of the bad habits that would sabotage our efforts to obey God, and more good habits that will support our success as we aim to do all that Yahweh called us to do. So for each of these habits, I offer things like videos and workbooks and classes and support groups to help you implement and stick with each of your healthy habits. So if you could use guidance with this or any of the healthy habits, just know that I'm here to guide you, and you can find more details on my website, which is trulythrivinglives.org. All right, so I'd love to know, how did you enjoy today's class, and what questions do you have for me? You can let me know in the comments below, or if you'd like, you can just save your questions for support group or for coaching. Either way, I look forward to supporting you along your journey. All right, thank you again for attending, and I hope that you have a blessed day. Hello and welcome to my chemical-free product workshop. Today's topic is how to mix your own deodorant. I appreciate your attending. My name is Andrea, and I'll be guiding you through today's class. Our goal today is to make our own non-toxic deodorant. While we're together today, we'll learn about the toxins that are in average deodorant brands. We'll discover the health and the beauty benefits of natural ingredients for our hygiene. We'll mix our own deodorants using the suggested portions to suit your own needs. And of course, we'll grow in empowerment from having greater control of our deodorant options. So the ingredients, you're gonna need arrowroot powder. I took it out of the bag. I like to put it in the jars, which is pretty, but arrowroot powder. You can kind of see it. It's a little dusty. Makes a little big puff when it drops. And then you also want to have some baking soda. You want to have coconut oil. And these are the three main ingredients: the arrowroot powder, the baking soda, and the coconut oil. If that's all you have, then you're good to go. But it's also really helpful to use tea tree essential oil. So the tea tree essential oil is a very good antibacterial, and it really, really helps with deodorizing. So the baking soda is great at deodorizing, but I find that the tea tree oil is also really good as well. You'll want to also make sure that you have some type of dish, some type of shallow dish or something that you can use it with for some hot water. Make sure you, maybe if you want, turn on the hot water early so that you can have the water nice and hot and ready, because you'll need to pour hot water in here. Just from the sink is fine later on. And then here you'll want to have some type of a dish to mix your deodorant in. Make sure that it's something that's larger than your deodorant container to make sure that it'll all fit in there. And then you want to have some measuring tools, large or small, probably small for this batch, just so we don't have too much deodorant unless you're gonna have a deodorant party. And a spoon to mix with, obviously. It's been in my hand the whole time. All right, so we'll start by going over some of the functionalities of the natural deodorant ingredients, as well as sharing some of the dangers of the store-bought deodorants. Then I'll talk about some of the proportions that you'll want to use to mix your own deodorant, and we'll finish up by giving the recipe a try. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Just eyeballing it when you're mixing natural ingredients is just fine. And the funnest way, of course, to do all this is to just experiment. So just have fun with it. So of course, please be mindful of any potential allergies. Obviously, coconut oil is a tree nut. So if you have any tree nut or nut allergies, or if you're just prone to allergies, just be mindful of how that might affect you. It would be a good idea to do spot testing of this recipe before you apply it to a larger area of skin. All these ingredients are edible. And since our skin is porous like a sponge, it only takes about 26 seconds for it to start absorbing things. So we want to make sure we're using, obviously, the good ingredients where it's going to be helpful. So I'm going to take a second and show you more about what each of these ingredients can do for you, so you know how you want to mix your product. So the baking soda. The baking soda is the deodorizing aspect, as well as the tea tree essential oil. The tea tree's deodorizing just because it's an antibacterial, but also the baking soda is deodorizing because it helps to absorb some of the moisture and some of the bacteria that might form. The coconut oil is also an antibacterial, and it also helps to hold the whole mixture together. It's important to use coconut oil because this is going to get hard at room temperature, to make sure that it actually stays hard and firm in your container. Then there's the arrowroot powder. The arrowroot powder is going to be really good at absorbing moisture. So it helps to absorb the moisture. If you were sweating throughout the day, it'll help to absorb that. And then as far as the deodorant container, you can just use a bowl if you'd like, and just use your fingers and just rub on with your hand. That's pretty much how we started. It doesn't have to be a fancy container, but if you do decide you want to use one, just make sure that it's twisted all the way down at the bottom before you start, just in case somebody got to it and wanted to have fun with it and it's up high. Just make sure it's all the way low. You'll know because it'll stop turning, and then you know that it's good to pour into. It's also a good idea to know how much they can hold, so you can get an idea of how much to pour, so that you don't have excess product, overflow it, or just not enough. So when you purchase something like this, and you can get this like on Amazon, this is where I got these, and you can just make sure that you know how many ounces fit in here, so you know how much you should mix with your cup measurers. Okay, so as far as the proportions and how you want to mix this together, we do want to make sure that we're a little bit more exact with this, but again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's forgiving. So you want to do 1 scoop of the arrowroot powder and 1 scoop of the coconut oil. So it's basically a half and half ratio. Then when it comes to the baking soda, this is important. You want to do a really, really small amount of this. I would say like a pinch almost. So what I can tell you is, if you do the same proportions that I use, which is usually going to fit about 1 or 2 of these. So you want to use about, I use 1/4 cup measure, and I use that to scoop the arrowroot powder. So I do 1/4 cup of the arrowroot powder, and then 1/4 cup of the coconut oil, and then I mix that together. And I use at most 1/4 teaspoon of the what is this? 1/4 teaspoon of the baking powder. So you can see the difference. It's going to be a very small, minuscule amount in comparison between the two. So a lot less. So you'll be using 2 scoops of this, 1 of the arrowroot powder, 1 of the baking, 1 of the arrowroot powder, 1 of the, what can I think? 1 of the arrowroot powder, 1 of the coconut oil, and then 1 really, really small scoop of the baking soda. Honestly, sometimes, like if it's winter, I'll use half of this. It's really just like an 1/8 scoop, because in winter, we don't really sweat in winter. It's so cold. But in summertime, you might want to go for a whole scoop. It's totally up to you. If you have sensitive skin, I would definitely do an eighth, or even a 1/16. You really want to. This can be very powerful. The tea tree oil pretty much makes up for it. If you don't want to use much of this, the tea tree oil pretty much does some of the job of it as well. So I think it's time to mix. So I'm going to do a regular full amount today. So I always like to put my dry ingredients into the cup measurer first, so I don't have to clean it out. So you want to do 1/4 cup of this arrowroot powder. That's about right. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be good enough. This is very dusty, so be really careful. You see all the dust coming out of there? Be careful. Don't let anybody inhale that, because nothing inhaled is ever helpful for our bodies. All right. So there's the 1/4 cup. And then now I'm just going to use the spoon in order to grab some of this coconut oil and try to fill that into the cup. And again, eyeballing it. You don't even really have to put it in there. You can just put it next to it and think, hey, that's close enough. Hey, that's close enough. That's just how I mix things. So then you can mix this. Again, keep it away from your face. It's going to be very, very dusty. So I'm just mixing it a little bit. While you still have some of the dusty arrowroot powder available, it may be a good idea to put your baking soda in there. So I'm just going to get a teeny, teeny, tiny amount, because I don't think we need too much of it. So I'm doing that little lazy scoop of this. So this is probably about 1/8 of a teaspoon. So we're gonna do 1/8 teaspoon. That's TSP. TSP, that's important. Not the big one, the little one. 1/8 of a teaspoon of the baking powder in there. Baking powder? I meant to say baking soda. Have I been saying baking? I'm sorry. Baking soda. Y'all know this is baking soda. Everybody knows baking soda. I apologize. All right, so then mix that all together. It's gonna take a little bit of time to incorporate it all together. All right, so once you have it in there and it's looking pretty good, this is where we want to use that hot water in a dish to try to help. You see how it gets clumpy? You got big clumps, big clumps. So this is where we want to use that hot water in a dish to warm up our mixture. Pro tip, you can just take this whole, let me wait for this. All right, so a pro tip, if you have a very dedicated container of coconut oil that you don't mind getting watery and drippy, then you can just stick the whole container in some hot water. And once that's nice and warmed up, then you can use that to mix everything. And it's still, the same proportions when it's watery. But if you don't want to do that, so you have a really huge container of it, just mix it after the fact, it's fine. Or melt it after the fact. I think I need some more. I'll use my cup measure now that I'm using it. Woo. Make sure that it's high enough. It's kind of like a double broiler. You guys can't hear me, can you? You do want to make sure that it's high enough such that it's going to get watery. Mine's already starting to work a little. As you can tell, it's already softening up. It doesn't take much to soften coconut oil. And if you'd like, you can do this process first, but it's really not necessary to melt it first. It melts just fine. You can already see it starting to get a little gooey. I can see. You'll see more in a second. So you can already see it starting to get a little bit looser, a little bit more soft. It doesn't take much, and it doesn't take a lot of heat. You don't have to go to the oven or the stove or whatnot with this. Just hot water straight out of the faucet is good. Ooh, it's getting good. It's getting nice and gooey now. So you want to make sure you keep the water out of this. Don't want to get water in here. I can't tell you whether or not that's going to work well, but I'm pretty sure it would probably cause it to go rancid because anything with water in it just attracts bacteria. So I would try to keep water out of this as much as is possible. Yay! So what you want this to do is to get soft enough that you can pour it into your container. Just make sure that you don't forget to add any essential oils first or you're going to kind of be stuck. So let's now, before we forget, add those essential oils in. And again, I'm adding tea tree. I usually do about 5 drops for the amounts that I just used. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I wouldn't do more than that because tea tree, well, all essential oils are very strong. And now we'll have an extra deodorant. I might make this the car deodorant. Works well in winter. Although it's not winter right now. Why said it? Okay. Woo. It's very strong. Okay. So now you can see what we've got. A much drippier texture. This is what you want to get. This is what you want to go for. No lumps. This is what you want to use to make that deodorant. Woo, it's just fun to watch. All right, so now this is where it would be a good idea. I'm sorry I didn't mention the funnel. I have it over here, but I just did bring it over. Sorry, funnel, didn't mean to forget you. So it's a great idea to use a funnel to make sure that you don't have any trouble, and you're gonna wanna make sure that you dry off the bottom of this. We don't want any water to drip in there. You see those little drips? We don't want that. So get yourself a towel or something to dry off the bottom of your container before you attempt to pour it in. And I'm gonna go ahead and move the water since I don't need this anymore. All done. And I'll move that over a little and just be sure to dry off the bottom of this. Ooh, okay. And just because I'm being neat, might as well clean there a little bit. Okay. Switching because I'm ready. All right, so now just want to go ahead and add that funnel in there. I wouldn't put it in the middle. It might seem like a nice idea, but don't put it on that little piece. Just put it on the edge so it can really get in there really well. So get your funnel in there, and then I suggest holding it up some, just so it's not just leaning in it, especially if you have a small one of these. I would hold it up so that you can see what you're doing, because you don't want to overflow it. You want to be able to peek in there and see how it's going. Because we have overflowed some before, you can tell, right? I'm really nervous about it. So, I'm trying to hold it so you guys can see. I don't know how to do that. All right, so just pour it in there. Woo! And then take a peek and see how it's going. Hopefully you guys can, oh, it's almost there. So you see, when the funnel's in there, it's going to be making a mess. So you can see when the funnel's in there, it's a little bit higher. So I'm gonna hold the funnel up and try to do the rest from above so I could really see how it's going. And you really could just start this way if you want. Just add a little bit more. We want it to be really close to the top, not overflowing, but pretty close. Don't overflow it. It's better for it to be less than to be more. We don't want a meniscus on the top kind of coming over the top. I really like science class, can you tell? So, before you close it, make sure that there's no drips. That's important because otherwise it's going to stick closed and it's going to be really hard to open. It'll open eventually. You have to warm it up a little bit around the outside if it sticks. But we want to avoid that if we can. So very carefully place it on there. And if you, let me do something so I can show you something, because I just messied it a little bit. If you have too much, you can just use your your measure and just pull out some, because you don't want it to be a mess later on. It's just not worth it. And again, just clean around the outside, make it nice and neat, because we don't want it sticking now or the next time you use it. And then you end up with flakes and stuff all over the place when you go to use it. And if you wanted it to be neat and tidy, well, let's keep it neat and tidy. So you see where I've got about, I'd say, 1/16 of an inch at the top of this. That's what you want. 1/16 of an inch of space at the top. And then close it up. Ta-da! Now, I don't have a pre-done one of these, but you want to carry it really closely. You can watch me carry it to the fridge. You want to carry it very carefully to the fridge so it doesn't go over and make a mess. This is an opportunity to shake it. And you can put it in the fridge. I wouldn't suggest the freezer because that makes it too hard and you'll be waiting a long time. So you just set that in the fridge and then use the bottom of it to push it up once it's completely hardened. I would give it about an hour to harden. You can really give it 2 hours just to be sure, but really should be totally fine after an hour. So this is the example that I have for you that I made before. It basically just goes up and down like a regular deodorant. You can see it goes up and down like a regular deodorant. And before you can use it the very first time, you want to make sure that you warm it up a little bit with your hands on the outside, and that helps it to be able to come smooth enough for the spinner to turn so you can get to use it the first go round. When using it, it's gonna melt on your skin, so just do like 1, 2, 3 swipes, and that should be sufficient. You don't wanna use too much because obviously it's got the oil in there and we don't want it to drip. And the powders, they're not see-through. They're pretty translucent, but if you use a whole bunch, then it can be visible. So just use a little bit, less is more with these, and they're very effective. They work well, so you don't need a whole lot of it. All right, so I guess that's it. I'd love to know how you enjoyed today's class and what questions you have for me. You can always let me know your questions in the comments below, or if you'd like, you can save your questions for a support group or for coaching. Either way, I look forward to supporting you along your journey. All right, thank you again for attending, and I hope that you have a blessed day. Hello, and welcome to my chemical-free product workshop. Today's workshop is how to make your own sugar scrub. So our goal today is to learn the power that certain plants have to nourish our skin and to create our own products using edible food items. While we're together today, we'll discover the health and beauty benefits of sugar, pure oils, fruits, and veggies on your skin. And we'll also mix our own sugar scrub using suggested portions, and we'll grow in empowerment from having greater control of our exfoliating options. So what we'll need today is some type of a mixing bowl, a mixing spoon, some large and small measuring utensils. You'll also want to have sugar, salt, coconut oil, olive oil if you have these, and then honey is also really helpful. I forgot to grab my honey. There it is. All right, so, and then if you'd like, you can also add in things like citrus fruit, like lemon, lime, grapefruit even. You can even add in avocado. So, and if you want to, you can do essential oils. Again, this is not like, essential oils they're not essential. They're not mandatory. They just add a scent to it, but it's up to you if you want to add them. All right, so let's talk about some of the benefits of these ingredients. So since our skin is porous like a sponge, it actually takes about 26 seconds to absorb things into our skin. It's very quick. So listen closely to the descriptions about each one of these ingredients, and then you can decide what you want to use to blend your scrub. So we have two different exfoliants today. We have the regular salt and the regular sugar. So these salts are going to be what's the rough thing that's going to help to exfoliate our skin. So you can use the sugar, which is a bit larger, or you could even use sugar in the raw if you prefer that texture. But if you want a smaller texture, salt would actually be really more fine and could give you like a more fine feeling to your sugar scrub. So as far as the citrus fruits, we have things like lemons, limes, and oranges. So lemons and limes are the highest in citric acid, and oranges are much milder. So the citric acid is something that's going to treat hyperpigmentation, and it's going to brighten the skin tone and help to fight bacteria on the skin. And it also helps to give the skin a healthy glow. Vitamin C also helps to prevent skin aging. Then there's the oils. So I encourage you to always do your best to use food-grade oils on your skin. Things that are high in mono and polyunsaturated fats. So things like olive oil, coconut oil, and avocado oil are highly recommended. The oils as well have vitamin E, which are also antioxidants, and again help prevent the skin from aging. And of course, these oils are going to condition and moisturize the skin as well. Now honey. Honey is the humectant. Honey draws moisture to itself, and when you put it on your skin, it draws moisture to your skin. So you'll see in products they have things like glycerin. This does the same thing. So honey lightens scars. So if you have any scars you want to lighten, this will be the one for you. It's also great for healing. So it can be like a natural antibacterial to help clean your skin. So if you have any acne or any scarring, honey is the one that you definitely want to have plenty of in your scrub. And unpasteurized honey can be even better because it can help to balance the good and the bad bacteria on your skin. Okay, so the shelf life of all these is something you want to take into consideration. So the shelf life of the olive oil, the sugar, the honey, and things like that, they'll be able to store at room temperature for up to 6 months. They're very, very, shelf stable items. However, if you decide to put fresh citrus juices or avocado in your scrub, then you'll want to do something with it in the fridge. Then you'll want to put that in the fridge, and it'll last for about 4 days. And again, make sure you're always doing the allergy test prior to using it, just in case. All right, so the proportions and the blends. We want to make sure that we keep good consistency to prevent any waste. Larger measuring scoops for if you're making a large batch. The smaller ones, if you're going to use it just a small amount just to test, I suggest starting off kind of small, and then you can make another bigger batch with the same proportions later. So the recipe basically is 4 scoops of sugar, and then 1 scoop of all the other products, whether it's going to be honey in the other smaller scoop, whether it's going to be honey and oil and lemon juice mixed in the other scoop. So basically, regardless of which size spoon you use, you want to use 4 scoops of the exfoliant, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you want to have 1 scoop, that same size that you had before, 1 scoop of everything else. So if you want to do a mix between all 3 ingredients or whatnot, just pour them all in there, and all those other ingredients that you're going to have in, just add that in. And that's how it works. That's how it goes. All right, so mix away using the size scoop that you'd like. Again, I suggest starting off small. I'm going to, since I do this often, although my kids I'm sure will probably use most of it in a second, I'm just going to do something small and simple for today. So again, that's 1, 2, and you can choose the ingredients that you like in yours based off of your own skin sensitivity and your skin's needs. Remember those things we had shared earlier about, oh, I already did 4. Let me not go to 5. All right, so I've got those 4 scoops in the bowl. Now I'm gonna mix in together, probably gonna do about half this and half the olive oil. That's kind of how I'm feeling today. So I'm doing half honey, and then the other half is gonna be olive oil. So you see I'm kind of pretty much halfway there. Now I don't want to pour it on myself. Now it's going to be all the way full. It's pretty much what I mean. Can add a little more. All right. Dun-dun. Of course that was there when I poured it. All right, so just use a spoon to kind of scrape some out. All right, and then we can mix this up. And it's gonna have a nice thick texture, especially with honey. Honey gives it a thicker texture than the oil will have a bit of a thinner texture, as will the lemon juice, but of course lemon juice is very strong, so you really don't need much. So we want it to be kind of clumpy. We don't want it to be dusty, and we don't want it to be runny. We want it to be clumpy. And avocado will make it a little bit more thick as well, because it's creamy by nature. All right, so you just want to keep stirring until you get some of the chunks out of there with the honey, etc. But you guys get the idea. It's pretty thick. All right, so mix away with the ingredients that work for you. So if you'd like, you can do a couple of different blends. You can mix honey and sugar, and then you can do one with sugar and avocado, and then you can do one with salt and lemon. It's up to you. But it's always gonna be the same recipe. 4 scoops of whatever scooper that you're using of the exfoliant, and then 1 scoop of whatever else you want in there, and that's it. So I'd love to, if you can, share your experience and your pictures of your creations on your, if you have social media page, or with your family and friends. And if you don't mind, letting me in on it too, I'd absolutely love to see what you made. So you can just email me or put it on social media and tag me at Truly Thriving Lives, and I'd very much appreciate seeing what you've got. All right, thank you again for attending, and I hope you have a blessed day. Hello, and welcome to my chemical-free product workshop. Today's topic is to mix your own all-purpose cleaner. So our goal for today is to blend and try a variety of natural, edible ingredients in order to clean our homes with non-toxic ingredients. So while we're together today, we'll discover the health and financial benefits to using non-toxic cleaners in your home. We'll do our best to blend your own natural cleaners using suggested proportions to suit your needs. And we're just gonna grow in empowerment from having our own greater control of our cleaner options. So the ingredients you'll need is white vinegar. You'll want to have a sealable container like a spray bottle, some measurement tools, large and small. Oh, gotta grab mine from over here. And then if you'd like, you can have some table salt, some baking soda, which I got a couple other things I gotta grab. Give me a sec. So some table salt, some baking soda, and a knife for your lemon and lime if you have them. So I'm gonna clear up my space a little bit so I can see you guys and I'm not just underneath a sea of stuff. But these are just the basic things. This is really the heart of what you'll need. So I'll start by sharing some of the dangers of many of the store-bought cleaners and the functionality of the natural ingredients that we can use instead. And then I'll share about 2.5 recipes that we can blend together, and we'll finish up by giving those recipes a try. You don't really have to be overly precise when mixing these. Eyeballing is just fine. So most household cleaners, they can contain things like carcinogens, which can cause or promote the growth of cancer. And they can also be endocrine disruptors, which lead to sometimes infertility, premature puberty, ADHD, and even cancer. Store-bought products can have a lot of VOCs, and they can end up having a lot of neurotoxins that cause things like headache, that can cause anywhere from headaches to memory loss. So I won't get into the regulations that allow these chemicals. I'm just gonna focus on working my hardest to empower you on the tools and the recipes for non-toxic cleaning products. So, natural cleaning basics and functionalities. So things that are acidic, things like vinegar, lemon, and lime, they're great at disinfecting and killing bacteria. Things that are basic, things like the baking soda and the salt, those are gonna be really good for scrubbing, especially the salt. So they can be great at removing stains on your countertop or just some stuck on foods on your dishes. And a lot of these items, like the vinegar, the baking soda, and the lemon and lime, they're really great deodorizers, so they help to freshen your space. And the best part is all these products, they're very effective, they're very inexpensive, and they're non-toxic. Okay, so let's look at the proportions and the blends. The proportions help to keep good consistency and to prevent waste. All right, so as far as these measuring cups, we want to use the larger ones for large batches and the smaller ones for small batches. Have about 8 ounces, which is about 1 cup of vinegar, to about, I'd say anywhere between 3 to 5 drops of tea tree essential oil if you like. This is only if you want to scent it. It's actually a really good disinfectant, but this only if you really enjoy the scent. It does actually really help to cover up the smell of the vinegar too. So if it's pungent to you, then this can be helpful. Also, if you find the vinegar is too strong scent-wise, you can do half and half. So instead of just a whole cup of vinegar, which is what I usually do, it doesn't bother me too much, but you can also do half vinegar and half water, which is what I do when I start to run low, like today. You see I've been using it. But yeah, that can be helpful too. So really it's just about, for this spray cleaner, it's just literally just vinegar in there. And then you'll want to put in about 3 to 5 drops of tea tree. I used to use this all the time, but I felt like I didn't really need it. So I don't use it much anymore, but it's great. So the all-purpose cleaner spray made with just the vinegar, and if you'd like to put in the tea tree oil, that's really great for windows, for glass, and for countertops. It's pretty much great, like works like Windex, and it dries really quickly too, so that can be a good benefit, especially when you do straight vinegar. So again, you can do the 1 part vinegar, 1 part water, and then 5 drops of the essential oil for every cup of liquid. If you don't want to do the water, if you want it to be stronger, you can just do straight vinegar. It's totally up to you. So then there's the multi-purpose scrub / deodorizer recipe. So you can use it to scrub sinks, to scrub showers, to scrub toilets, and to scrub and deodorize the carpet as well. And it also helps scrub your fingertips a little bit too. So it's really just simple. It's baking soda, because it's a little bit grainy. It's very fine grainy, but it's a little grainy. You just need some baking soda and about 2 drops of essential oil for every whole cup of baking soda. So when you have a whole cup of baking soda, you want to put in 2 drops of the essential oil of your choice if you want to have a scent. Again, the essential oils aren't necessary. They're just a little bit of extra jazz in there. So if you have a lemon wedge, you can use it to clean a cutting board. So just chop the lemon wedge in half and just use it with some salt or with baking soda to clean the cutting board. So obviously you can use the baking soda to deodorize the fridge, and you can use the lemon slice if you chop it into small enough pieces, maybe like penny-sized pieces, throw it in the garbage disposal. It makes it smell really fresh. So even if you've been in there cooking things like with garlic and whatnot, it completely freshens it. It's awesome. One of my favorite new scrubs that I use for cleaning is just salt. And I didn't bring up the bottle of cast-iron soap, but salt and cast-iron soap, those two work together really, really well, to the point where if I have something that burnt on in the oven, I can soak it in the sink for a little while, And then after soaking it in the sink for a while, I can just add salt in that soap and just use my fingers to rub the dish, and it comes off super easily. It's amazing. Again, I'm eating plant-based items. I don't know how well it would work for meat-based items. I don't know how well it would work for dairy. But what I can tell you is when the vegetables and the greens get stuck, this works amazingly. I mean, I don't even need the washcloth. It actually works best with my fingertips. So, awesome. And this is just regular salt. This is just granulates of salt. This is not coarse salt or anything. It's just regular. And as far as the proportion for the salt in the soap, it's pretty much just half and half. Half of the salt, half of the soap. You'll figure out, how much you need. Just start small and just add. This is a foaming soap, so it's really hard for me to kind of tell you exactly how much soap. I don't know which soap you use, but I'd say about a tablespoon of this is pretty much what you'll need. And then however much soap you would usually use. So if you want, you can use the funnel in order to make it much neater. I usually just pour it over the sink because that's just me trying to keep things neat, but you can use a funnel if you would like to, and it can make it a little bit easier, a little bit less guesswork. Whee! There it goes. Ooh, it's in there. Proof. All right, so once you've got that, and then you can just close it up, then it's just a spray. Notice I didn't put the water in there. You can do half and half the water, and then ta-da! So you may have noticed earlier that I said that my family and we live with 12 healthy habits in order to enjoy a better quality of life. So then, chemical-free living is just one of the 12. We embrace all these healthy habits so that we can have less bad habits to sabotage our efforts to obey God, and then more healthy habits to support our success as we live to do all that Yahweh called us to do. So for all these healthy habits, I offer guidance via workbooks, classes, videos, and support groups to help you implement and stick with each habit. So if you'd like more guidance with this or any of these habits, I'm here to guide you, and you can find more details on my website, which is trulythrivinglives.org. All right, so I'd love to know, how did you enjoy today's class, and what questions do you have for me? You can let me know in the comments below, or if you'd like, you can save your questions for a support group or for coaching. Either way, I look forward to supporting you along your journey. All right, thanks again for attending, and I hope you have a blessed day.